basically the captive ring Christmas trees that Merle Valens demonstrated last year. So these are some pieces that I made. The two in the forefront are made out of hickory, and the one in the background is made out of cedar. It's too bad I didn't have that one in the cedar turned a little bit, because the other side of it's got the white sapwood on the other side of it, which is kind of cool looking on there. So these were really fun. And I think the next picture, Steve, yeah, is a picture. I tried to get as close as I could there. So I don't have there, thank you. I don't have a captive ring tool. I keep meaning to go find one, and per what Merle recommended even, and order one of them. So when I did this, I just took a Allen wrench and ground the end of it flat, essentially, at the right angle piece flat. And then I just grabbed the other end of it with a pair of vice grips. And it actually works pretty well, but I'm sure a captive ring tool works better than that does. But that's what I use to do it, to separate the rings from the tree. And these are really fun, but it is a little bit of challenge because I just did one the other day. I don't have it with me up here right now, but it didn't come out that well because I chose a poor piece of wood to start with on it. And I did that just, I thought, well, I'll use it as kind of a warm up to doing some more of them. But also, maybe it's because of the wood. I had a hard time getting the cone even enough so the rings actually spaced out somewhat evenly on it. So that's the only thing I would caution, is that if you want to make these, it's probably best to get a captive ring tool, because I think you can be more consistent in how you cut those rings, the looks of the rings after they're cut, and the consistencies of the way they fall down the cone afterwards on it. But they are really cool. People really like them a lot. So fun project.
Got to be a fairly close grain wood, or they'll collapse, they'll fall apart on you. That's the only thing.
Yeah, like I did those two out of hickory, but the other one was cedar, and that one came out fine. But the hickory, because it's nice and hard, that's the lowest, like optimal, for wood. Probably like hard maple would be really good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So we can go to the next one. So here's Bob's demo, and I got a little bit of extra demo making a video with Bob, so I thought they were pretty cool. So I probably made about 3 times the amount that you see there in this thing by now. I made quite a few of these, and I sent them to my family and friends as gifts, and they love them. So they're really fun, and you can do all different kinds. You can see I did all different kinds of tops on them, and I'm trying to get down a star. You see the one that kind of to the right a little bit in the foreground is kind of a little bit, yeah, right there is a little bit of a star, and I've gotten a little bit better at it, but I'm still experimenting with that to see if I can get it better, because it's hard to get in there on the piece to cut it back on there. But I just cut, a ring, and then I sand off the sides on it to end up with the star there. And the same thing with that little angel in the foreground. I carved that all out in a ring, and then I just sanded off, essentially trying to make wings out of it. I did several others that came out maybe a little bit better than that one, but anyways, they're really fun to fool around with and do. And as you guys were talking earlier, Steve, about you spent 5 minutes turning. I turned roughed these out in about 5 minutes, but I was telling Bob what takes me the most time is painting them. And and then the top, if you make a simple top like those little cones on the top, that goes really fast. But if you start trying to do angels and stars and whatever else, there's a bell on one of them over there, that takes a little bit more time to do it. Otherwise, you can spend after you do a few of them, maybe in 5 or 10 minutes, you're ready to paint. And it takes me about 5 minutes a piece to paint these things. And then, you let them dry, and then skim them off and finish the top and the bottom on them. So, but, if you want to make something simple, little cone tops on it, and they go pretty fast. Yeah, and then the next photo there, that's what I call my California Christmas tree. I think you
That's
know
the,
why, right?
That's the, what do you call it? The National Lampoon's Christmas tree.
Yeah, exactly. So, so Lars, you're on, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, all right. So there's your
Is that pine? Is that pine?
reinforcing. Yeah, that's just a piece of pine. Yeah, it actually the picture doesn't depict it as good as it. It actually looks a little bit better than that. But anyways, it's fun. So with that one, with the other ones, you know, you cut the slots in it and then paint it. But with this one, you actually turned the whole thing, you know, and then took it off and burnt it, and then put it back on and cut the grooves in it, the slots in it afterwards, so that it's just bare wood down inside of it. Yeah, it's just pine, you know, it's just from you know, construction pine lumber. I was going to try another one with, I have some fir, some Doug fir, you know, construction, and I keep forgetting to do it, to do that. So I still want to try that and see how that burns comparison to this. So it was fun.
All right. All right, Terry.
All right,
Okay,
Terry.
so from Ted's demo, I played around with some napkin rings, and they're about 2 inches in diameter, and you know, 1 3/8 inches long. And I tried a little beading, and so on spalted wood, the beading can be a little difficult. That would be my biggest learning from doing these things. And this, so yeah, spalted buckthorn.
Yeah. Oh, that they look great.
They
do.
all look very consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you go to the next picture, I actually did a second set, and these are from Spalted Maple. So basically, these were just, you know, 2 branches that were about 3 inches in diameter. And the first one, I did the whole method where I made the thing long and bored it out to release them. But this maple branch was a little bit more crooked, and so I had to actually cut it up into pieces and do anywhere from 3 to 5 at a time, instead of trying to do 8 or 9 at a time. But I played around with it and did these and made them very consistent set, I guess.
Yeah, nice.
So you turned them green.
No, actually, they were mostly close to dry. They weren't, you know, 100%, but they were probably down to about, I think I measured one at like 12% moisture or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty close to being dry. Yeah, that's I find you can do it either way. You know, even if they're green, you can turn them, and they dry pretty quick. I mean, within a week or so, they're
Yeah.
pretty dry. You know, you can put a finish on them then.
Right. Once you have them all hollowed out.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the next set, if I make another set, I think I'd make them a little thinner and
Mhm.
try to use something that's not quite as heavily spalted. My
Yeah.
wife says they look dirty with that much spalting on some of them.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like 'em.
But it's easy to tell yours apart.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I haven't made a set of consistent ones like you did here. And I intended to do that, but every time I start to do them, I just want to do something different on each one, and that's what I end up doing.
Yeah, well, I kind of, because the wood was spalted, I started out trying to do, you know, some spiraling with the spiraling
Yep.
texturing thing,
Sure.
and it was not coming out well at all. So I actually cut that off and then just went to a much simpler design.
Yep. Yep.
Is there a finish on them?
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit of an oil finish. I was trying not to go for a shiny finish on these because I
Right.
figured a shiny finish on something that spalted is gonna look fake.
Yep.
Yep.
And so I think it's Danish oil, a couple coats of Danish oil, and then maybe one thing of the antique Minwax antique oil finish,
Right.
and that was it.
Well, I think it's brave that you try to make them look the same because, you know, Ted's got the right idea. If you make them all intentionally different, you don't have to worry about matching anything.
Right,
So,
right.
we
Well,
had
the
to
other, the other thing too is that one of the reasons I did it, like I made a bunch of these and gave them to family and friends, is that, you know, if you have people over, they can kind of pick out one they like for their napkin ring, you know, they kind of get ownership of it or whatever. So I thought that was a fun thing too.
Right. Well, you know, like I said, I was going to do that, but with the spalting, yeah.
Yeah,
So then I
yeah.
just ended up making them all the same.
Yeah, with the
Yep.
spalting, you have a lot harder time texturing
Right.
the material, so. Oh, they look good. I like the photo with the napkin in it too. Great,
Oh,
great
thank
idea
you.
there too, yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent.
well, I
Yeah.
figured some people wouldn't know what, well, you guys all know what they were, but if I showed the photo
Yep,
to people that don't do wood turning, they'd say, what are those? You know, some kind of
Yep.
stand or something. And
yep,
so it's pretty obvious what they are if you have a napkin in one of them.
great
Yep.
idea.
Great photo and really pretty rings too. I
Well,
like 'em.
thank you.
nicely done.
Cool.
Okay, so this is my other piece, and this guy was a total experiment from the start. If you go to the other photo, you'll see one. So I turned, you know, I twice turned this. So I turned it the first time, and I put it away and didn't look at it, and it split all the way down. So I tried to figure out what I was going to do. So the first thing I did was I'd never used milliput before, so I put milliput in the crack, and I figured out that if you push on the milliput hard enough, I mean, it went all the way through and extruded out the other side on the inside. So that was good. It filled up the whole crack. But milliput is not very good for basically joining the things together. It came loose on both sides. So that was the first problem with this. And so I ended up having to glue the whole thing back together again with PVA glue. The milliput stayed in there, but the PVA glue finally held it together.
Right.
Yeah,
And
the
then I did-
milliput shrinks a tiny bit as it dries, and it's not that adhesive.
Right. And that's what I found. I didn't know that, but I do now. And so then I turned it, and I didn't know what else to do with it. So I decided I was going to play around with piercing. So I did I pierced it all. And that was my first time doing something like this, piercing. And then I put a little lid and a little finial on it. The finial is from the vessel itself is black maple, and then the finial is just another maple I had, so it was really lighter color than the black maple. And sanded it out. And then the finished head that you were mentioning, where you mix the tung oil and the poly and the solvent,
Yep,
I made up some of that and I used that on this.
oh, nice.
So that was another piece of the experiment. So
I think that picture there, I wanted to say another ornate modification would be to inlay a zipper down there, you know, some of those
yeah,
fancy things,
right.
or lace it.
I
you know,
could have
lace
done
between
other
holes.
stuff, but you know, it was like I said, it was an experiment all around. I had some learnings that didn't turn out too bad, although I didn't sand off all the little. I did the piercing with my Dremel tool, so I got a little burned in places, and I didn't actually sand all of that off.
Mhm.
So you did all the piercing with the drum. You didn't cut any of that out with a saw or anything.
No, I didn't. So what I did first is I kind of laid out the pattern. I just kind of free-handed the random pattern, And then I drilled a little hole through each of them, tried to put it, kind of in the middle. And I figured out you got to be really careful with that because I had it cracked between a couple holes, but since I hadn't cut out a pattern yet, that was okay because I could just redesign the pattern to take out the cracks. So you have to be careful with the drill. And then I use this Cuts-All burr on my Dremel to enlarge it to the pattern, more or less the pattern that I'd drawn on there.
Right.
Is
So
that,
that's kinda how
Terry,
it
is that top, is it big enough to put a candle through there? Because that would really look really cool, the candle in there.
Thinking the same thing.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's what my wife said too. She said, okay, so no, it's not. But my wife said the next time you do one of these, I want you to put one of those, I want you to set it up so that there's a tea light, one of the
Yeah.
LED tea lights. In
Yeah.
the
Some of those
bottom.
LED fairy lights.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
do
so
that.
that you could put that in there. Yeah, the LED fairy lights would work because the string is big enough to put a string of those in there.
Yeah.
But that would be the next thing. And overall, it's pretty small. It's only like 4.5 inches high and 3
Yeah.
inches in diameter with the finial little finial on the top. So
Yeah.
I just had a thought that in terms of tea light, if you
Yeah.
made most of this into the lid of a box, and the actual box was the last, bottom half inch or inch, and you get them to go together, then it's easy to get the candle in there.
right.
Really weird
Yeah.
way of looking at it, but it's just struck me, whatever.
Yeah, I've seen
They
box-
actually make little LED tea light candles too. So you
Right.
wouldn't run any
Yeah.
risk of burning.
Right. That's what I
Exactly.
would do. I certainly wouldn't put something with a flame inside of this. It's not big enough for one thing, but I would be afraid of it burning and not being able to control it. So it'd have to be one of the LED tea lights if you did that. So that's probably a future project. I don't have it in the works right now,
Yeah.
but it probably happens sometime in the future.
I like it. I think it's really pretty.
Thank you.
Really nice, Terry.
Thank you.
I'll bet if you put the tea light in the top, so it would glow, the whole thing would glow. You wouldn't see the tea light. Mount the tea light in the bottom of the top.
Yeah,
Mhm.
upside down, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that'd
Yeah.
be nice.
Make the whole thing kind of glow. I spent a long time making a bulb shaped thing out of cast acrylic and put a LED in and put batteries in the bottom, and I don't know, I finally tore it out and put in a finial. I didn't like the way it looked, and they just look, when you can see the LED or whatever, it just didn't look great.
Yeah, but yeah, I hadn't thought about putting it in from the top. I had thought about, doing the bottom and how I was going to attack it from a finishing standpoint to put a tea light in there that would hold in place and not fall out and all kinds of stuff. And I haven't quite solved all of it yet, but doing it from the top would be another interesting path.
Also spraying the inside black or something, and then cleaning the outside would give it a contrast in and out.
Right.
Mhm.
Like that.
If you need to, if you want a good way to anchor that little tea light, bore a hole out a little bit bigger than the tea light, put a rubber O-ring around the tea light and put that into your hole.
Okay.
Those things grab real well.
Well,
Okay.
I was wondering when someone was going to start piercing here. So this is good. Good. Maybe this will be it gives people some motivation to start it. We really haven't had much piercing in our demonstrations or our pieces here. So this is good.
Well, I really hadn't done it before, and I just, since it was an experiment all the way, that was just another piece of the experiment. It's a little under 1/8 of an inch thick. It's about 3 millimeters thick. So it's probably a little thicker than a lot of people pierce, but
Right.
for
That's
my
good.
first time, it was.
We'll give you a passing score for your first time.
Okay, great.
think more than a passing score.
Uh.
Can you say again, what was the name of the tool, the bit you put into the Dremel tool?
It's a Kutzall bit, Kutzall or something like that.
Okay,
And-
thank you.
Yeah, they make different grades.
Yeah, and
different
this one was kind of a, I don't know what you call it, kind of a cone shape. So it's about an eighth of an inch thick on the bottom, going up to about a 1/4 inch thick, and it's about an inch long and a little round. It's got
And
carbide on it and stuff. I should have brought it along.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
well, good. All right, Jim.
This is the bottom of a walnut split cut bowl. I turn these in like 6 minutes and I stand it for another 3 and crank them out. No, I'm just trying to fit in. Anyway, this is the bottom. Can you show the next one? This is a bowl made with that configuration and then cut in half, and the top's glued together.
Oh, glued to, okay, yeah.
So that you get
Okay, Jim, I when I was setting this up this morning, I saw the second picture first, and it's like, how in the world did he turn the inside of that thing?
yeah.
Very careful.
You got it. This is my second. Well, no, I've turned a bunch of these. In fact, I've got another one here I could hold up, but you have to get out of split. This is a uniform wall thickness, and I've got a special way of making those. I made my first one probably back in 99 or something on a Shopsmith, and it evolved because I figured out if I made a fancy bowl or something with some deviations in it, and I cut it in half, I could glue it together. And then I figured out, why would I glue it together if I could hinge it? So I made these with hinges so that you could either have the bowl or you could have this. And then I cut it another way so you could have 3 different ways. Some other time we'll show that. But anyway, you turn the inside of the bowl, which is the inside of this, to whatever configuration you want. And then you have to remember that, because you put that against the faceplate and you have to turn the outside to match the inside. And some people like uniform walls, some people like not uniform walls, but this is a uniform. It's about 1/4 inch thick walnut, and the top surface. When I get all done, I flatten the top surface, and my wife burns it with burning tool. But
Jim, maybe you like it better this way, but I think it would have helped a lot to have an inset of what it looked like when it was still on the lathe.
I can do that, but I can only submit 2 photos.
No, you put it in a corner of the photo.
You guys, hey, I just learned the size of this darn thing. How do you want an insert in the corner?
You're asking too much. You're asking too much.
Send me another 3-minute video, because I'm not.
You got it.
Now that we've had the explanation, can you go back to the first picture again, Steve?
Yeah, so Jim, what I'm thinking is demo. So
good.
Yeah.
I think this would make a great demo.
Oh, yeah. You know how long it takes me to make that thing?
Make it 3-inch one.
I could do the first part, and you guys could come back like the next day, okay?
Wait, I said it took 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that,
That's
did
what
you
pauses and
flatten?
That's what pauses and fast forwards are for, Jim.
Not
Jim,
when you're
did you put a
demoing.
flat spot on the bottom there? Is that where your name is? Is that a flat spot?
Yeah,
Okay, so it sits. so
I
it
hit
sits
that. I
steady.
hit that on a disc sander just so it'll sit flat.
Yeah,
Just on that middle.
Just on that
yeah.
part. because it's only a quarter of an inch thick too, so you can't, so
Yeah.
you gotta watch when you start putting flat spots in, you could
Yeah,
roll right through it. And they're hard to fix.
yeah.
I'm really curious as to how you turn that thing around after you've turned the inside of the bowl to do the outside of the bowl without going through it.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Yeah, I bet.
First off, I draw all my work. So when I turn the inside, it's fairly precision. But then
Fairly.
I take a measurement of that. And as best I can with, what do they call those? Contour gauges, those contour gauges. But those little wires bend all over the place and they're a bugger to get perfect. But anyway, then I make a drawing again of what I want on the outside and try to do that. But you have to keep reference points and it's real easy to get off on different.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No, the consistency of the wall thickness is just amazing.
Yeah, it is.
The fact that you're doing that blind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't cut it in half and check it every few minutes.
No.
You
There are
could, but.
stressful moments.
Yeah, she knows.
There are some stressful moments.
Hey, Jim, if you're having trouble with those, the wire type of contour gauge, there's a plastic kind out which works really well too.
But the things, yeah, I've got a couple of each, and the things are too fat. They instead of wires, the needles that go in are too fat. They don't pick up the
detail.
This is the bottom of a madrone piece. I got a piece of madrone from some years ago. That's another whole story. And this is the bottom of the madrone piece. And this is the same kind of thing, only it's not uniform. This is an ununiform piece. It's about 8 inches in diameter, 4 inches high, and about 3 inches thick. In fact, this was just sold. That went to St. John's Island. It's I don't know, you'll see another one. Also, I should say, when you're making these, when you go to, if you ever try to do it, you're sanding inside deep cavities. Don't stick your finger in there with a piece of sandpaper, okay? I've broken off 3/8 dowels. It would break your finger off instantly. Don't try to do anything fancy. Do sand with push sticks and whatever else.
Yeah.
But that's
looks like you got mighty thin right in this area here, Jim.
yeah, and when you do, you get the same thinness on the other side over here.
Yeah.
And this got thin in here and the same in here. So, and people like that.
I like it. I think it looks great. I like the burning on the top of that rim too. I mean, if you didn't do that, it would not look nearly as good as it does.
No,
Well, that sets off the rest of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that really does.
it looked pretty white, and Rita did that. Rita does all the trim stuff around here, but
She cleans up after you and makes things
you
look good.
got it. You got it.
After him.
I'll tell you.
I do. I sweep the whole shop every single day.
We have to go now. I'll tell you another thing. My photography has improved through this 1,000%. This whole damn thing was glossy, and I got lights shining in all directions to get this thing to show right. But to take a picture of madrone or any kind of wood, I can't imagine doing it in the old days with film, because I'd have a garage full of film. I take 50 shots and throw them away and take 50 more. But this is the bottom of it, and it's sanded flat. Here again, I have to make sure I've got thick enough area in the center here to flatten that thing. So, but the first guy that saw it bought it. So it's, and that's another thing. I do get attached to my work, and I really mean that. But I can't keep everything. You just can't do it.
We don't have any flat space left in the house.
We had bowls stacked in the bathroom. You just got to get rid of some of this stuff. So a lot of times you wish you had some of this stuff back. I've got another one I could show. In fact, after this, if you want me to hold up another version, my original version, I could hold it up and show it, but I don't think I have any pictures of that. But anyway, I had some other really neat ones, and I sold them. I wish I had them back, but anyway.
So Jim, one of the things that I noted here, so and again, putting this together this morning, the contrast between this view and this could be a view. I mean, it could sit like this, but the surprise when you go from that to that is just astounding to me. I mean, you just can't. I mean, to me that's part of the beauty of this, is that you just don't appreciate when you look at it from the outside what's hidden on the inside. And I think if I own this piece, I'd be tempted to store it with, upside down like this, and then let people turn it over to see what's underneath, because I just find that fascinating.
Yeah.
To turn that over and see what's there.
Yeah, when you put the first photo up, I looked at it and says, okay, what the hell am I looking at?
Yeah. Well, when you take it off the lathe, it's the same thing until you cut it in half. You don't realize it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? And
how does it present if you put it on its side? In other words, on a surface with the edge facing you.
Now you want me to turn it on 3 centers?
No. I mean, just to display it.
Oh.
Instead of holding it as a bowl, having it as an art piece that looks at you.
I'm just holding the other one.
Like a clamshell, I think you're saying.
Yeah.
Instead of this, you could show it like that.
Yeah. Then you get the benefit of the outside and the inside.
Yeah.
Oh, I could show this other one. Wait, I'll show you this other one. I forgot. I got a view here. This is my original one turned on a shopsmith. This is poplar. And
can you give them focus?
It's a bowl, and it's a block of wood, and it has I think this is about a 1/8 thick piece of mahogany glued to the face of the bowl blank. And I used a woodworm in here to hold it on the chuck to turn the inside of this bowl. And then when I got the inside turned, I had this flange. Oh, wow. I had this flange on the outside.
Thank you.
If you picture this in half, like that. And this would be the inside of the bowl. And the woodworm would go in here. So it's mounted on the lathe this way. And then when I turn it over, I have this flange on the outside, so I could put screws in here and here and here, and then trim that out later. That would hold it so I could turn the outside of the bowl. But this isn't anything. This is just guessing, just having fun. There's some ridges turned in here and grooves and points and whatever else. But
I like that presentation angle. I think that's a nice way to display it.
You could be. This is the walnut one. I could set it at flatten this area here.
No, I mean 90 degrees. All the way, face me with
all the way over,
just like that,
Yeah,
it's kind of like a clamshell then.
Or Batman.
There you go.
But then you rotate it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
put
it
it on
does.
a
You can do a
turntable, now you're
Batman.
done. Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. Well, nice. That's
Thank you.
once
cool.
again, Jim, you
there's no end to the fun.
you just amaze us with
Yeah.
Feats of engineering.
your
Well,
feats of
this one here, I could show you another one, but I'm not going to get into that. This could be hinged. So when you open this up, you have a flat bowl. You would have a flat bowl like this with 2 legs or 4 legs on it.
Pull it up.
There'd be. Don't show them that. Anyway, she doesn't like this. This is what happens. I'll show you this quick. This is a flat bowl this way. This used to fit, but it's been through a lot of demos.
Huh?
This is a flat bowl this way. When you flip it this way, you have an oval bowl. Okay. And when you flip it this way, you have a serpentine bowl.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Okay, I now have a headache.
Anyway, this could be cut 4 more times and you'd have like 7-way. It starts, the hinge, it starts looking like a Rubik.
You cannot do origami with wood.
It looks like a Rubik's Cube or something. But anyway, from a flat bowl, and that's how these things evolve. From a flat bowl turned like this. Actually, I made a 2-way bowl that was turned like this. And then I cut it in half. So, and I was going to glue it together like I glued this together. And I thought, well, that's pretty neat, glued together, but why not put hinges on it? And then when you get it glued, you get hinges on it, you think, well, why not hinge it again the second way? And then you can do a second configuration on it. So
I'm going to skip that demo.
anyway, yeah, you know, this used to fit really neat, but
I
people
don't think I could
wrangle it.
survive that long inside your head, Jim.
Anyway,
That is record-breaking creativity. I am astounded. That
my
is
wife,
Yeah, it really is.
my wife doesn't like this one at all.
solid.
Anyway,
all right. Well, thanks, Jim. That was
Thanks, Jim. That was great.
I don't know how to follow that.
I
anyway,
don't either.
Feel sorry for you, Bob.
Well, an ornament. There you go. Actually, these, I was culling through a bunch of papers that I had, and I ran across a handout that I think Alan Leland gave to the club for the library. And I started to read through it, and it was on ornaments, and I thought, oh, that might be kind of a fun thing to do. So this is my take. I did a number of these for Christmas gifts, and I just kind of went through my scrap bin, found a piece of a big leaf maple burl, and that's what I turned the orb as. Hollowed it out using Alan's article as a way to do it, and then just created the top and the finial. The finial is hard maple, and I dyed it with Indian ink. I've subsequently made some others that I've just used straight trans tint black, which I like a lot better, but that turned out okay. So about 7 inches high, 2 inches in diameter, a lot of fun.
An amazing design on the finial, the bottom particularly.
Yeah. Bob, those just kind of evolve on the lathe.
Very nice.
So in this one, the actual orb, I don't know if you know what I mean, but I've got a big maple burl that I've been cutting up into pieces, and there's a tail on the very end. it's not burl, but it's maple. And I was curious to see what kind of figure I'd get out of it. That's the figure from that little tail on it. Nothing spectacular. I thought maybe it'd be a pretty piece of burl, but it still turned out nice with that little bit of figure that's in it. Again, same process. And on that, I used Purple Heart for the top and the base finial. So I did several others of them. I just kind of went through my scrap bin of pieces of burl and other wood that was kind of pretty and turned them into some Christmas gifts. So there you have it.
My only suggestion on this one, Bob, is just, and it's hard looking at photographs, but I think I would have made the bottom, the finial, a little narrower to try to it almost looks a little heavy right there.
Yeah, it's a little clunky. You're right, Steve. That one is yeah, they need to be a little more delicate, I think. And I think I would have made it a little bit longer now that I'm looking at it.
Well, it's you got all that delicate part below it, but but then it broadens out so quickly. I think
I taper it faster, you know.
It just draws away from the finesse of the
I got
the lower finial there.
kind of caught up in trying to get the where it meets the orb there to try to kind of fit onto that, and it is too big. It really is. Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
You're following the curve of the orb, and I don't think you need to, but yeah.
Yeah.
That'd
But
be
you
cool.
could take quite a bit away from that. You can make the transition there much finer and not have it look so clunky.
So, but nicely,
Yeah,
I mean,
very nice
it's
anyway.
nicely executed though.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, another basket illusion.
Wow. Look at that color.
Hey,
I
this-
love those colors.
I wish this guy would quit doing the damn basket illusion stuff. I'm getting tired of seeing it. This one is, what is it, 9.5 diameter, about 7 inches tall. Segmented maple. And the pattern, I was trying to do a bunch of different blues and then it wasn't working out. And then I put some gray over top of the blue. Anyways, to me, it looks like blue jeans. It's just all the different shades of denim. And if you guys remember that peacock one, that's the same pattern, just different color.
Just different
Meaning-
colors. Yeah.
The same pattern foundation, but different approach, if that makes sense.
Those colors are awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, that's
Beautiful.
and I just love the way this spirals around down here.
Mm.
That's very, very nicely done. So what did you
What
do?
do you
with that-
guys think of leaving that rim natural?
I like it.
debating-
Yes,
Do you?
yes.
Yep, I like
Nice
that.
contrast, yeah. It's good to have
Yeah.
that there.
I was debating, and I'm leaning towards the natural.
Yeah, it's
Versus
a
done.
nice, it's a real nice accent. Is the inside black? Did you do that?
Yeah, because it's segmented, I just went ahead and dyed. I have some India ink in the bottle, the big, before I joined the two halves, I just dyed the inside black.
On the other photo, Michael, am I seeing the base correct where you left some parts of it natural maple also?
Yeah, so it looks like it's woven, like there's a piece woven to the bottom.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's a nice touch. That's a real nice touch.
Yeah, here's one reason why to keep it wood is when all is said and done, I know it's a basket illusion, but it makes you think it's a clay piece. We didn't know this was a wood turning groove. You'd think this was a hunk of clay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I did that art walk thing and so many people stopped and said, "Oh, honey, look at the baskets." And for me, it was like vindication, I was fist bumping. But you're right. Until I explained to them that it was wood, they're like, "Oh, that's wood?" And I was like, well, the irony is I could probably grow the materials and weave a basket faster, but it is what it is.
Very, very nicely done. The colors are once
Yeah.
again just so nicely
Fabulous.
done.
Thank you.
Even my colorblind brain can comprehend this one.
Oh, that's right. It does, but doesn't it look like blue jeans, like the faded, the bright
Yeah.
blues, the gray blue? I was like, damn, this looks like denim.
Mhm.
Yep. No, that's nice. And you know, in addition to the coloring, I mean, it's a nice shape. I mean, it's a very nicely proportioned piece. Because if it wasn't, the pattern just wouldn't flow like it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got that form down without a doubt.
Yeah.
Although I'm
Nice.
playing with some other ones. I've been looking at that David Nipman's his work and some of his forms, and I don't want to copy him, but I'm getting inspiration. We'll call it that.
Nice and
Well,
done.
when it comes to closed forms like that, we're all copying clay, pottery from centuries ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Those damn Chinese stole all our designs.
They're getting us back now. Don't worry about it.
Hey, Michael, I
then
got a
this-
question.
Yeah.
On your rows that you do when you with the D-Way, I guess you're using the D-Way.
Yeah.
It appears like it's a larger. I've been using the 1/8 inch and the 3/16, which is what they recommend when you start off with this thing. Do you have
Yeah.
other sizes that you're
No.
using?
No, just those two.
Just those two? Okay.
I tend to do the 3/16 one a lot because it just makes sense. It's a bigger bead, you know what I mean?
Right.
But on the real
Looks like
small
you-
pieces,
Yeah.
I do the 1/8. I'm working on now, and not this one here. So this one, that's all 1/8. Because I did the wall too thin on it. And because it was so thin, I couldn't do the 3/16 because I was afraid I'd pierce through it. So this one's a pain in the butt because it's all the 1/8 beads and it's on a big 14.5 inch diameter piece. So
Wow.
it's taking me forever to color it, but I think it's going to be cool when it's done.
Oh, yeah. That kind of like a Hopi design?
To me, I made something that looked what I thought looked like fan blades. And then I
Oh.
just started copying it,
Yeah.
But yeah, it does. It looks like, now that I'm 3/4 of the way through it, it looks kind of like a Native American design.
Yeah, it does. Oh, cool.
So this one, I had a piece of Bradford pear that came from a neighbor's tree about 4 years ago that went down in a storm, and I just chucked it up and I thought, I'm gonna make an ornament. Because you know what happened? We were driving through Fuquay and they have, the lights they attach to the side of the street lamps and stuff that look like snowflakes and that kind of stuff. And I was like, that looks like a pixel pattern, which looks like a basket illusion pattern. And that's what got me going on it. So I was like, I'm gonna make an ornament and put a snowflake pattern on it. So this is actually my mother's Christmas gift, or one of her gifts, but it's just a piece of solid Bradford pear that I chucked up real quick and I went to town on it.
Wait, are you saying Bradford pear came down in a storm?
I know, it's crazy, huh?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, she's
No.
gonna love that, Michael.
It must be Thursday.
Yeah,
I hope she's not watching us.
I don't think she is.
Okay.
What do you call it? The downside is that Bradford pear had some color in it, oddly enough. And coloring over it, it made some variations, but I think it kind of makes it look unique.
Yep. Because of
Yeah.
the pattern.
And then I swapped out, I'd had a coat hanger trying to make it look like an ornament hanger. And it just didn't look good. So we swapped it out for twine.
But again, as you mentioned, the pattern, the grain pattern, I wouldn't necessarily shun that because it again reminds you that it's wood.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's very nice.
Thanks.
I'm a little puzzled by why the snowflake is green. I understand red and green for Christmas, but you might want to consider white.
Well, I was going to leave it blank, but
Yeah.
because that Bradford pear had red coloration through it, oddly enough, it looked like it had been lightly dyed in some areas. And I was like, well, damn. So I had to go over it with a different color. And white, it wasn't an option, but I
Yeah,
agree.
you wouldn't get white.
You just said snowflake before, so, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm gonna do another one, but I'm going to
Damn these
use,
realists.
what's it, the dyes. I think I'm gonna do a white dye on it and then go back and color over top of that to make the bulb white with the basket illusion, and then do the pattern in a different color. I think I'm gonna try that.
Yeah,
maybe blue or
that'd
something.
work.
You might want to bleach the whole thing before you do anything else.
Yeah, somebody
That
else
too,
had asked,
yeah.
I have never tried wood bleach before.
Be patient.
Clorox is cheap.
I've tried wood bleach, and you have to put it on and wait a good hour to know what it's really doing. I didn't.
Yeah,
I completely ruined some wood by just taking it all the way down the white.
I don't know if I'm very patient.
Said the man who colors 14,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Convince me.
I knew you guys would appreciate the sarcasm.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Well, my proverbial answer is I'm OCD, but not that OCD.
Yeah, exactly.
That's gotta be a norm. Yeah, it is.
Yep. Back on the
Very cool.
lasers. This is a design I've been playing with for quite a few years, actually. This one was
Wow.
Yeah.
the most interesting piece, part of this for me was the windows. I knew, because I've done the silhouette pattern before, but it didn't have windows, and it made a world of difference.
It does.
If we get bored, I'll go through the tedium of actually creating those windows. But the process of this was to turn the outer platter. I knew how much of the rim I was dedicating to design, so I covered it with a midnight blue gesso. And then I lasered through that. The finished product wasn't that dark, so I followed it up with India ink inside all the burn area just to get it really black. And then the final process was me sitting there with a little Dremel drum sander, a little tiny 1/4-inch drum sander, and just brushing all of the windows to get back to the wood color.
Oh,
Man,
it was worth it,
yeah.
Thank you.
because you're right. That really sets it off. That's a beautiful
That is
piece.
beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. One of my favorites.
Don't blame you. Wow.
Now you need some stars, Norm.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there are little wormholes that I was thinking about that they were there naturally. And in my head, I was thinking, oh, that'll just make for stars. But
Yeah,
the paint filled into them.
You have to take your Dremel tool in there and
Bore them out. Yeah.
bore them out.
it's great the way it is.
Little dots.
Thank you.
Beautiful piece, Norm.
What's the wood, Norm?
I think it's the wormy ash, but it doesn't look like the rest of it. So I could be wrong. It might be some maple.
Doesn't look like
Uh,
ash.
No, it didn't. That's what I mean. It had the character of the wormy ash, but not the. See, if you look at the detail shot right on the right side, that looks like ash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole thing has got a lot going on in a good way. But the fact that bark inclusion is still there, it makes it cool.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a choice early on. Just let it be rather than try to fill it.
Yep.
Because you're not putting soup in a plate like this. Sorry, it's not going to happen.
No, but I mean, if it didn't have that, don't be wrong. All the other stuff is awesome, but the fact it just reminds you that it's wood and that it's a natural piece. It's cool.
Thank you. This is an add-on since we were light on the gallery. I've had a few of these pieces that I did kind of all at once. This is cedar of Lebanon, which is a really strange wood to work with, but the character is just amazing to me.
Smells great, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't smell. Well, I mean, it doesn't smell like cedar. It's got a
No,
different
but
smell.
I've always likened it to like a cotton candy smell.
Okay, I didn't quite get that, but there was right in the center dish, there was a huge knot that I was worried. I mean, I could tell from the back that it wasn't going to be throughout, but I didn't know how deep it went. So I just kept deepening and deepening. And it has the character of Eastern cedar in that the knots are 10 times more dense than the rest of the wood.
Mhm.
So it was a little problematic turning that inside because I was skipping over that and getting terrible burns and just chatter, etc. But the amazing thing about this is actually in the detail shot. There's another shot, Steve? Yeah, there we go. If you look really closely, yeah, it's a nice tree pattern from a photograph again, but it's particularly on the left-hand side, those lines that are diagonal, those are not from the pattern that's burned in. That's the variation in density of the rings of the cedar.
Wow.
So it's all burned out, but one ring burned 1/64 of an inch deeper than the other ring.
Huh.
So it just gives this incredible depth of pattern to it.
Yep.
And again, when I burn more of the rim than I usually do. And so when I went to hollow it out, I'm like, I'm not going to cut this much away. I'm going to keep as much of that as possible. So I went with the inward rim to save as much of that pattern as I could.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
So, but it doesn't burn it black.
Yeah, I'm playing with that. Some woods it does. The person who instructed me said always use 100% power, which I never really understood, because basically you can play with power, speed, and dots per inch. And these are done at I've gone up to 500 dots per inch because it gives me the cleaner burn. But some woods will not give you that scorch. The cherry didn't scorch. It darkened, but it didn't scorch. I think if I slow the laser down, I might get more of a burn out of it. But I'm happy experimenting. A certain wood, I like the texture more than I like the color.
Yeah, it's the fact that it varies makes it more interesting. Nicely done.
Thank you. And this one is kind of funny. It's a fairly simple pattern. I've been holding on this one for a while, and I want to try it in different ways. I want to try to do the inverse, basically have the wood colored and leave the leaf pattern as the natural tree. But this one, as it was burning, it burned fairly black, and I was actually in a room with other people watching it burn. They're saying, "Oh, you need to leave that black," and I'm like, "No, I want to color it." And by the time it was done, they all agreed with me that yeah, it needed some kind of color to make it pop. Learned some lessons. I used the phthalo green acrylic, and the person who was teaching me suggested I water it down, except I should have told them I'm using ash. So thicker is better because the ash fibers just suck that paint in. It looks up close, it looks better than this photograph, but I spent a lot of time with, and I used Ted's trick of using a, a random orbit sander with the lathe off. So, because I wanted to hit these high spots and get all the extra paint off without, diminishing the pattern. And this one was masked. It's another thing. You can put masking tape down before you burn. So then when the burn removed the tape, burn the hole, and I could apply paint with supposedly not worrying about overspill. Supposedly. Learned a few lessons. Like I just had thick masking tape that I layered, and every seam line kind of shone through. So I spent a lot of time on cleanup on this. And to say the hand painting was a little tedious. I should have left the paint a little thicker so I didn't have to worry about it bleeding into the wood.
Did you try sealing the wood first before you painted it, Norm? That might help too, not to seep in on the end fibers.
Well, see, I was worried about the burn effect on the sealed wood. So the process.
Oh, but after you burn it, before you.
No, but then
paint
it's masked. Do you follow me?
No. So the area that's black is what got burnt out with a laser, right?
Right.
So then after that's done, there's still masking tape on the unburnt. So you just apply sealer to essentially the burn part, but mainly the edges.
I'll have to give that a shot before painting it.
That'll stop the ends from soaking whatever you put on it afterwards in, because the sealer is just clear and you don't see it.
Jeff, would you recommend what kind of spray sealer?
Yeah, you could spray shellac on that. Personally, I'd probably take the regular old shellac and cut it by about a third with denatured alcohol and do a wipe on.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of bumpy to wipe on, but all right.
Kind of what, sir? I
Kinda
couldn't hear
chop
you.
it.
Well, there's some significant depth there, so I was thinking a spray would be my best bet for getting it into all the crevices.
A spray would work. Aerosol shellac, and I've got a can of it over here if you want to try it.
All right. Well, thank you.
I used it once and it didn't do what I needed, but I was doing something strange.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Amen.
I had some kaleidoscopes engraved, and the first one came out, the burn went into the, there was a lot of smoke or whatever it is, burn went over the edges, and it sanded out all right. But the next ones I've done, I've sprayed with lacquer, just a coat of lacquer, not 2 coats or 3 coats, 1 coat of lacquer, and it comes out gorgeous. It crisp edges. You don't have to sand them at all.
Awesome. Well,
It
thanks
might
for the
help.
tips.
Yeah.
So you burn through the lacquer?
Yeah, and it's amazing. It come out gorgeous. I think I used about 400 grit sandpaper, just lightly, and give it a couple more coats. And in fact, 1 more coat, I think. If you start giving it too many coats, then you start building up the engraving part. So you,
right.
Just another, forget it was another coat or 2, but that really helped to have it 1 coat of lacquer first.
That's nice. That's good suggestion. All right. God, there's people doing some unique stuff here. All right, Lars.
I made this maybe in August. I've seen Michael's stuff and I'd seen other. When we lived in Colorado, I got to see David Nittman do demos. He'd come down to the
Lars, I
demo.
think you muted yourself, or we lost your audio.
I can hear him.
Yeah, me too.
I can hear him too.
Okay.
Mic come unplugged?
No, he's good.
You're unmuted, but we're not hearing anything.
Well, I quit talking because you guys are all talking.
Maybe come back to Lars at the end.
No,
I can talk.
Norm, the
Norm,
problem's
you
on
just
your
can't
end.
hear him.
We can hear him, Norm.
I don't think Norm can hear any of us.
I'll give him a text. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, go
Okay,
ahead, Lars, you're fine.
I turned this and I made my own beading tool for it, and then I don't have the indexing ring quite yet. This is just the 24-step index ring, and I just wanted to make it kind of look like a weaving. And then I burned everything that was supposed to be the other way of the weaving. And like somebody earlier said, I think it was Jim, that I chose a bad piece of wood for this, but I just was experimenting. And this was just an old piece of cherry, and the left side was fairly rotten, but it was a good time. I burned it and then put a clear coat on it.
I thought it was awesome.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's very, I like the rustic.
Yeah, I think it
Rustic
looks
wood.
better because you used, partly rotten wood or whatever,
Okay.
It looks more antique-ish and I like it better.
And I like the design that Michael has, and several other people are doing these kinds of things where you have the natural wood rim around the outside, and then the natural wood foot and up at the opening. It just like you guys were saying, it reminds you that it's really wood.
So the sequence is you turn the whole thing, beat it, and then you burn it, and then you have to sand each one of those little squares.
Can you see how the ridges are kind of in the burned area? The ridges are kind of knocked off the burn marking.
Yeah.
I sanded it on the lathe. I just had it spinning and sanded the whole thing. I didn't sand it much. And I put a
So
Clear
between each one of the square things, then you carved that out or something?
I burned it. I cut it with a burner. I turned my
Mm.
burner
Oh, okay.
way up high
Oh, my God.
Oh, I
and,
see.
and
Okay,
cut it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
And I made my beating tool. I had a flat. I had an old chisel from like 100 years ago that had a diamond point on the front. And the CBN wheel I have has radius edges, and so I just took the point off of this diamond point and made a scoop out of it, and that's how I made my beating tool. I didn't even go and bother to buy one.
You could sell those square beating tools.
That's nice.
But seeing Michael's tool in his demo last week, I have some gouges that I don't use, and I was thinking of resharpening them to look like Michael's beating tools.
Yeah, those D-ways, I think the negative rake, I don't know why you couldn't, I agree. You could just take an old gouge and make it that way.
I've
That's what I
done it.
use.
I have several of them and it works fine.
Hey,
Right.
Ted, can you start recording?
Oh, I don't think I'm a host.
I made you a co-host, but
Okay.
because I'm sharing my screen, I can't seem to do it. So
Oh, it says recording right now.
no, but Norm lost audio, so Norm was
Oh.
recording. If you can start recording, just to pick up where we lost it.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
But it will, while I'm sharing my screen, for some reason, it won't let me record.
It will not let me record either. Oh, let me see.
Maybe I
Record
can
on
do
this
it.
computer. Okay, yep, I got it.
Okay. Okay, thanks. All right. Sorry, Lars, I didn't mean to interrupt you
It's
there.
all right.
Yeah, no, I have reground several spindle gouges that or actually bowl gouges that have been too short and into various size beating tools. You just essentially put that negative rake on, and you end up with the like the D-way.
Yeah. Or you could sell the hell out of those. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Mm.
And then this is the shape that Max Brosey calls a drunken Irishman. I feel a little uncomfortable saying that, so I think I'm going to quit naming him that. But it's got a round bottom and it rocks. And he's Irish, and he sees a lot of drunken Irishmen late at night walking home, and these kind of wobble like that. That's why he named him that way. So in some ways, he's like he's imitating the people who've had a good evening. So it's not so politically incorrect, but this is fun. It's
I'm Irish. We don't care.
it's called, the wood is the paralam. It's the beams that tend to go over your garage door opening.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
I have a piece. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
I can't see myself.
Mm,
Hold on. This is a piece of the paralam, and it's just layered pine with a lot of glue, or it's not that much glue, but they make like 1 by 1/8 strips that are maybe a foot or two long, and then they just pour it in with glue and then smash the whole thing together. And it's the engineered lumber. It's just a beam that you put over a long span, and it comes in 4x6 and like 2x10 sizes. And this was from a friend of mine's garage cutoff that it's like 22 years old, this piece of wood. And it sands really nicely. So you just get, once you cut it, it doesn't turn well. It's very chippy, but when you sand it up, it really sands well. It's just easy and quick, and you get a really nice finish on it.
and Lars, I heard that the turning that can be pretty toxic though. So you protecting yourself with that, or?
Well, if it's toxic, there's no odor.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a guy that turns his stuff all the time on Instagram, and I sent him a message about it, and he told me a little bit about it. And one of the things he noted was be really careful turning it because it's pretty toxic. So just a warning, maybe look into that.
Yeah,
Okay.
some of the glues have formaldehyde in it, so
But you would
yeah,
smell the formaldehyde, wouldn't you?
I don't
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I know there is talk about that. Maybe they've taken that out now, but they at one point they were using urea formaldehyde glue in making those. So
They've also used phenol formaldehyde glues, and you won't necessarily smell the formaldehyde, but the dusty stuff that comes out of that glue is not nice to breathe.
Okay.
Whenever I'm dealing with any kind of laminated wood, real damn good air filtration. And if you can arrange it, a charcoal filter is even better.
All right, thanks.
It looks spectacular in any case. You know, the outcome is wonderful.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah,
It was
that's
really
fun.
satisfying to make.
Yeah. Two very nice pieces.
Thanks, Lars. All right, we're down to the end here. These are mine. So this is we were talking about Mike Smith earlier, and the wood I got from him. So this is a piece that Mike Smith had a fire at his house several years ago, and he took a bunch of his wood stock from his basement. He has a walkout basement. Fortunately, when the fire happened, it burned a PVC water pipe in his basement and put the fire out. But he ended up with a lot of water damage. And anyway, he took a lot. He had dozens and dozens of blanks in his shop in his basement. This is at his house, and he just put them outside under a tarp, and they sat there for years. And as he was getting ready to move, I went through hundreds of blanks, and a lot of them were so far gone that I couldn't do anything with them. But there was some of the stuff that appeared to be somewhat sound I took, and this was a piece of walnut that was probably almost 5 inches thick, 18 inches in diameter, and it had the whole bottom inch that had been laying on the ground was totally rotten. And I thought about stabilizing and stuff. I decided to just put it on and turn it and see what I got. And I had no idea that I had this flame in there. But anyway, this is one of those pieces, and it just that was after I turned it. That was what was inside of it. So, but again, this is about the finished size is about 16 inches by 3 inches on the back. So it's just a shallow bowl, but just I mean, it's just such a treat to take something you have no idea what's inside, because it had been so rotten and stuff that you had no idea that that's what was inside this piece. So
Beautiful.
Really nice.
Yeah, amazing.
it just and the contrast, not only the flame, but the way this grain works over here, and then the pieces over here. It was just a lot of fun. So
Very cool.
So and then our last piece for the night is this piece. This is a sphere. It's about 4 inches in diameter. That's big leaf maple burl. That it's been stabilized. Again, this was a really punky piece of burl that came from that same junk pile at Mike's house, and I stabilized it and then turned it into a sphere, or cast acrylic on it, and then turned it. But I had this piece of driftwood that I also got from Mike's yard, and it reminded me of a bird, kind of tail feathers over here and a wing over here and kind of a head up there. So I named this Mystic Flight, and it's probably 16 inches long and probably 8 inches tall. If you look at this, the sphere's 4 inches. So, and that's just a close up of that sphere.
You sold that right away, didn't you?
No, I haven't sold this one yet.
Oh, really?
Okay,
So
so here's the thing. It makes me think of, I don't know why, so the connection's lost on me, but it makes me think of the Lord of the Rings. And supposedly
See, I was thinking that too.
If next week is the 20th, I think, anniversary of that series, of the trilogy. Yep. So if you can come up with a name that's reminiscent of that, post it and it will sell.
Yeah.
I was thinking Lord of the Rings, something like that. And I'm shocked it hasn't sold yet. It's an absolutely beautiful piece.
Thanks. Well, I've never watched Lord of the Rings, so I wouldn't know how to name it. but
What?
I'm not into sci-fi. Sorry. But
It's
Oh.
fantasy, not sci-fi, but it's really good.
Yeah.
The burl itself is about the color of the eye of Sauron. Yeah, that part
The thing
underneath
is,
the
he's
bottom.
done pieces that are literally oval like the Eye of Sauron. He's done that.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
There you are.
That looks like a mountain range to me with snow on it inside the sphere. So I'm thinking of the dwarfs and, climbing up to get into the mine of Moria, whatever.
I agree. Now when we end this, I'm gonna have to go watch the trilogy. I'll be on.
It's only about 15 hours.
Yeah.
So,
So not to take away from that, Steve, that's an absolutely incredible piece. And I love how you paired it with that driftwood because it just sets it off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stunning.
So what I found on this a lot of times with this burl, because it was punky and it had been, it was almost black. Just because it had been sitting outside. And so what I did is I paint it with an epoxy, and then I just dab various pearlescent powders on top of the wet epoxy to give it the like Terry said, the mountain effect. So it's hard to see this. What I found dealing with epoxy versus the illuminate resin, because it sets so slowly, the pearl powders, when you mix up the pearl powders with the resin, it tends to mix in, versus with the illuminate, you can actually keep them segregated. So you get a totally different effect. But so this is a little more cloudy inside than I would have wanted, but it does, I tried to get the valleys kind of a blue pearlescent powder, and then the peaks of white to try to give it kind of almost a mountain type sense on there. But yeah, it's just I love working with this driftwood. It's just I probably have 6 or 7 pieces just sitting on the bench and just waiting for inspiration. And so anyway, but it was it's fun, and again it brings back a little Mike when I see this stuff.
Did you actually do anything for finish or sanding or anything on the driftwood, or is that just natural?
So the driftwood is really dirty, and so I have a Fordham tool, rotary tool, and I bought some small soft wire brushes for it. They're about a 1/2 inch in diameter. They're cup shaped at about a 1/2 inch in diameter. And all I did is I just brushed it with those. And then also I had a brass brush to kind of clean off the dirt. And I sprayed it with Krylon matte finish, just to protect it a little bit. And you can kind of see on this one just a little bit of that matte finish there. I mean, it just gave it just a little bit of depth, but also kind of protected it some. So, but that's all I did to it. And then I just cut out an oval. I hardly had to do anything to the bottom of this because the driftwood was pretty flat, but I just stuck it on my stationary belt sander and sanded it flat, and then just put a black, it's just a piece of maple, thin maple, painted black that I just put it on.
Is that globe attached, or is it just there's a stand for it?
It just sits in it, and you can turn so I carve out the driftwood to hold the globe, and you can turn it different directions. It's interesting on this particular piece, I don't have a picture here, but you can actually look at it from the other side and get a totally different effect. Still looks like a bird, but it looks like a different bird. But yeah, you get it and you can rotate the sphere it kind of sits in a recess that is spherical. So on there, and I just carved that out with my with a Cutsall bit on my Fordham tool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, Steve, I think with all that said, that that looks more like a dragon now with all these comments about Lord of the Rings and Mystic and everything. It's not a bird, it's a dragon.
Yeah, if you look at it from the other side, I think you'd see the bird. But anyway, so that is our last piece for tonight. So again, it was we had fewer pieces tonight, but it was nice to be able to actually spend more time
Yeah.
Yeah.
on some. I mean, I really enjoyed, Jim, your being able to dig deep into some of your pieces there. That was
Yeah.
fun. And
I was gonna say, maybe you could cut this in half and hinge it, but I didn't say it.
My head hurt.
well, this one did take me 12 minutes, Jim. So
Oh, wow.
Hey,
I'll get the
hey,
meeting
Jim, look
tool
up,
out and start wailing away at it.
Jim, look up Maxima clams.
Maxima clam, huh? Okay.
Maxima clam. I was a fish nerd for many years with big saltwater aquariums, and I raised some of those clams. That bowl that you made, it's got the shape of a Maxima clam. It looks really cool.
I'll be,
You're right.
have to write that down.
Steve,
yeah.
for anybody that wants to follow up on Jim's stuff, Stefan Hogman has at least one really good book out on just that type of turning. His name's Stefan Hogman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he does a lot of unusual stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and does anybody have any excess wig stands? I've run out and I've had a request for some. Nope.
No, I don't either, Terry, right now. I just I just gave away the ones that I had, so I'm empty.
Right.
What were you looking for?
Wig stands for, hair wigs.
No, I don't have it.
Okay.
That wasn't part of it.
I love that, Steve.
Yeah, so this is the other side.
Oh,
So again,
Very different.
yeah, very different. You can take this one. Was just taken with my phone, so I haven't worked on the picture, but yeah, just a totally different view from the. Which most of the time with these driftwood pieces, they only work one way, but this one you can go from either direction. So. All right.
You have fun photographing that too. That would show all different ways photographing it.
Yep.
The lighting from behind or from side.
Yeah, we know. Put a hinge on it.
No. No, not hinge.
All right. Well, that's all I have. Anybody have any final thoughts here before we wrap it up?
Happy
Yeah, I want to wish
holidays,
everybody a
everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
holidays.
What a nice gallery this evening. I'll tell you, gentlemen, I'm floored every time I see the work that this group does. I really am. Yeah, so am I. Just amazing. Extremely talented bunch of guys here, and I hope someday to be even close, even in the same ballpark.
But with that said, and I Bruce appreciate those thoughts. I don't hesitate
Yeah.
for the group. Don't hesitate to bring stuff in, because we all started somewhere, and I mean, some of us have more time and have been doing this longer, but certainly the newer turners can bring stuff in, and we're a kind group. We intentionally changed the name of this from gallery to show and tell, because we want to encourage everybody at all levels to participate in it. So don't hesitate. And if you have any questions, I mean, their pieces don't even have to be finished. We've had people bring pieces in that are partially done and in a quandary as to what to do. I've posted some partially completed pieces on there that just I didn't. These abstract art pieces were like, where do I go from here? So I encourage everyone to go ahead and to submit. And again, I hope people aren't intimidated.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll try not to put you after Michael early. That's all we can do.
I will happily not submit anything if it helps.
no,
And I
no,
don't mean
no,
that to be a, I don't mean that to be a smart butt. I really love seeing people's work, and every
Yeah.
piece I see gives me a new idea or a new perspective or a, you know, I just can't thank you guys enough. I regret that I didn't join the group sooner when I really started getting into turning. It's been a great year, and I hope you guys have a great Christmas too.
We're
Thank
happy
you.
you're here, Michael.
All right, well, with that, I will give, on behalf of the board and the entire club and the membership, I wish everybody certainly happy holidays, however you choose to celebrate, and a happy new year. And we're looking forward to a good year next year. Hopefully by March, we're able to meet in person. And that's our goal, and we're working towards that. So with that, enjoy your holidays, get some rest, happy turning, and we'll see you next year. Good night, all.
Ho, ho.
Hey,
Same
Thank
for
you,
me.
guys.
Merry Christmas,
Holidays.
Happy New Year.
happy holidays.